Many times in my priesthood, I meet with folks who are going through very difficult and challenging times in their life. And they come to me and they say, Father, I've prayed to God, for what I'm going through, but I find it difficult to know exactly what to ask for, because at some level when we come to God with petitions in our prayers, things that we want, we don't want to sound selfish, right? We don't want to come before God as if He was a genie in a lamp and say, well, these are my wishes, this is what I want. But instead, we want that prayer to be us aligning our will to God, but we don't want to just go that route and say, well, God, whatever happens, it's fine, because we do have something we want, right? Like we do have something we're coming before God. So it's a paradox. How do we ask God? And in today's reflection, we find the answer, that Jesus Christ experienced this exact same paradox in His prayer when He's in the agony in the garden, preparing for His crucifixion and death, this torturous suffering that He's going to endure on our behalf. And what does He do? Well, He does both. He begins by being honest with God, by pouring out His heart to the Father and saying what He wants. He storms the gates of heaven and He says, please let this chalice pass from me. Do not let me go through this suffering and this trial for the sake of mankind, because it's a frightening thing to do. It's devastating to think of the cross. But He ends the prayer by saying, but not my will, but thine be done. In other words, He does both. He's honest with God. He tells Him what He wants. But then ultimately, He lays down His will before the Father. And so should we. When you go to prayer, especially with something heavy on your heart that is challenging you or you're struggling with, be honest with God. Put it all on the line. Storm the gates of heaven. Beg for a miracle. But also recognize that we are subject to His will and that He knows better than we do, as we covered in a previous reflection. So be like Christ in prayer in the agony. Understand the paradox and trust that God is going to do what is best for us. Amen.